It's usually late at night. The world has gone quiet. Your phone is face down. No messages coming in. No one asking where you are or how you feel. And in that silence, there's relief. You tell yourself you like being alone, that it's peaceful, that relationships are complicated, draining, overrated. But here's the truth most people never say out loud. You didn't choose loneliness because you enjoy it. You chose it because it hurts less than hoping. Because at some point in your life, closeness stopped feeling safe. So you learned something subtle and devastating. If I don't reach, I can't be dropped. If I don't attach, I can't be abandoned. This is the paradox. The thing that once protected you, emotional distance, independence, staying single, is now the very thing quietly starving you. You don't feel desperate for love. You feel tired of disappointment. You don't crave romance. You crave peace. And staying single feels like the only place where your nervous system can finally rest. Psychologically, this pattern doesn't begin in adulthood. It begins in environments where emotional needs were unanswered, minimized, or made conditional. This is what researchers call emotional neglect, not the presence of harm, but the absence of attunement. No one taught you that needing was allowed. No one stayed long enough to prove that closeness could be consistent. Over time, your nervous system adapted. Avoidant attachment emerges not from arrogance or coldness, but from repetition. From learning that dependence leads to disappointment, that vulnerability invites instability. So your system did what it had to do. It internalized self-reliance as survival. Then there's hypervigilance, a state where your body is always scanning for emotional threat. You may not consciously fear relationships, but your body remembers unpredictability. Raised voices, emotional withdrawal, affection that disappeared without warning. And then there's the emotional neglect schema, a deep belief that your inner world is ultimately yours to manage alone. That asking is risky. That leaning is dangerous. Neurologically, this reshapes the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for self-referential thought. Your inner dialogue becomes self-contained. You process alone. You regulate alone. You grieve alone. So when people ask why you're single, the answer isn't simple. You're not broken. You're adapted. But adaptation has a cost. Carl Jung once warned that what we do not make conscious will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. The invisible grief of staying single is not loneliness itself. It's the slow erosion of being witnessed. You carry your days quietly, your wins, your losses, your private fears. You become fluent in independence, but foreign to intimacy. And the grief is subtle. It shows up when something good happens, and there's no one to tell. When you laugh alone and feel the echo afterward. When connection appears, and your body pulls back before your mind can explain why. Rainer Maria Rilke wrote about loneliness not as absence, but as space. But space, when left unshared too long, becomes isolation. The core fear here isn't rejection. It's dependence. Because dependence once meant vulnerability without protection, exposure without safety, hope without reliability. So you choose solitude over risk, control over uncertainty, distance over desire, and every day you make that choice again, quietly, rationally, unconsciously. You might notice it in your relationships. You crave connection, but when it gets close, you feel trapped. You pull away emotionally. You intellectualize feelings instead of expressing them. You disappear before anyone can disappoint you. In your career, you become hypercompetent, reliable, self-sufficient, but you struggle to ask for help even when you're overwhelmed. Your worth becomes tied to performance, not presence. In self-worth, you pride yourself on independence, while secretly wondering why closeness feels so hard for others but exhausting for you. Your boundaries are rigid, not flexible. Walls instead of doors. Emotionally, you regulate alone. You self-soothe through withdrawal, through distraction, through numbness. And internally, your identity becomes built around being the one who doesn't need much. But here's the shift. These are not personality traits. They are coping mechanisms, and coping mechanisms can be unlearned. The beginning of healing isn't forcing yourself into relationships. It's witnessing your patterns without judgment. Not asking, what's wrong with me? But what did I learn to survive? Healing starts slowly, with inner child reparenting, learning to meet the parts of you that never felt emotionally held. With shadow work, acknowledging the grief beneath your independence. With nervous system regulation, teaching your body that closeness doesn't always equal danger. It means choosing softness where you once chose armor. Not all at once, not perfectly, but intentionally. There's a quote from Jung that says, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important." Your loneliness isn't a failure, it's a message, a signal that self-reliance kept you alive, but connection will help you feel alive. The goal is not to be fixed, it's to become whole. And if this resonated, if it felt like someone finally put words to something you've lived quietly, share it with someone who might need it. Stay, listen, and when you're ready, let yourself be seen.